Hey, Allie, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, girl.
Hey, thank y'all so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're excited to talk with you about this. So, before we get started, I just want to let everybody know that we won't be sharing any names, locations, anything like that. This video is not to single anybody out. It's not to shame anybody. It's just to spread awareness on sexual assault and the importance of speaking up so you can heal yourself.
I'm super excited y'all invited me on here today because this is a topic I'm super passionate about. I think it was about a year ago, I went to the Women's March in Washington, D.C., basically just trying to be an advocate for sexual assault victims and basically just trying to like be a voice for the voiceless because I feel like sometimes different populations and even just women in general don't always feel like they can come forward about things that are happening in their lives, especially when it comes to sexual assault. So I'm excited to talk about that with y'all today.
Yeah,
We're
that's
super
great.
excited to have you. And I think you have like very good insight on it, especially like one, being at the Women's March, and two, like having a full on like college experience. Because neither one of us ever lived on a college campus before. So I think, you bring a lot of different dimensions to it. So I'm excited to hear from you about, your experience and being on a campus and being around that.
I think it's we talked about this a little bit before we started the video about just it's almost like sexual assault is almost normalized on college campuses because you get an email and it's like the same email every single time, basically telling you the time, the location of where things are happening and what happened, and you get it weekly, almost daily. Um, and I remember as a freshman being like, "Oh my gosh, where is this and how did this happen?" But then by the time I was a senior, I like didn't even read the emails because I'm like, "Oh, just another sexual assault on campus." And but it's more of, okay, it's great that you're sending the email and you're trying to bring awareness to it, but what are you actively doing to help people and make people feel safe on your campus? And I mean, I know my college can't be the only college campus that this happens on. Um, Even with some of my friends who've gone to other different, like other colleges, and them talking about how it's just almost normalized and it's and I think this is just how it is all over now is people don't want to come forward because people don't believe you. And especially not even just in the college world, but I feel like the sense of someone saying, "Oh, well, you were drinking and you were drunk, and so you kind of brought it on yourself, or it was the clothes you were wearing." But it's not. I mean, if you're not in the right mindset to say yes, then the answer is no. And if you're wearing a quote unquote like low cut top or whatever you want to wear, that doesn't mean you should be sexually assaulted, you know? And I just think over the past few years, it's something I've been extremely passionate about from my own experiences, hearing from y'all, some of people who are super close to me. It's just, I feel like it's something important that people need to talk about, and it's not talked about enough, especially the process of coming forward, telling the people you love, and yeah, just trying to heal from that because in today's society, how do you heal from something when a lot of people don't believe you or they put the blame back on you? So,
I think that's something that like I always worried about. When I was sexually assaulted, I remember like waking up that next day and like I immediately felt so much shame because I had no clue what happened, but like I could just feel like something was wrong. And I remember I like woke up and I didn't have any underwear on. I just had my shorts and my shirt. Or yeah. And so I like hurried up, found my stuff, and like, went out. I just basically left and went home. And as soon as I got home, I went upstairs and took a shower because like I could just feel like something wasn't wrong. Or wasn't right. I felt like just so gross. And so I like took a shower and I went downstairs and sat on the couch. And I remember Melissa looking at me and just being like, what is wrong with you today? And I just like started bawling and was like, I don't know what happened, but something's not right. She's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, like my vagina hurts and I don't know what happened. Like I can't remember anything from the entire night, but like it's just not okay. And she was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? We went to the emergency room. And I remember the nurses there were like saying, hi, Hazel. We're saying that like,
Dogs know when you're upset.
oh yeah, for sure. They were like basically saying that like they couldn't test me for any drugs or anything like that because I didn't know what I would want to be tested for. And that there was really nothing they could do, like even like examination wise. So they had to send me to a like specialized place, and I had to get a rape kit done. And I remember like hating the fact that I had to go there. I remember just like sitting in the car like silently, just like bawling my eyes out as Melissa drove me over there, and I kept telling her like, don't tell anyone, like don't tell mom and dad, don't tell my brother, don't tell Dakota, like don't tell anyone, like I don't want anyone to know. And I remember just like going there, and she was just like asking me like a bunch of questions about like what I could remember, and like I felt so like guilty and shameful for saying I don't remember anything from that night. And like automatically placing the blame on myself because it was my fault because I didn't remember the night because I drank too much. So it was my fault because I shouldn't have drank that much. I should have cut myself off and none of this would have happened. And I remember like, I don't know, even just like afterwards, I remember she kept asking me like, you know, if I wanted to take it to a prosecutor or not. And he had to come because I was there. So I talked to the prosecutor and he kept asking like, well, do you have your underwear? Do you have any of this? Like, da 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 da. And I remember like seeing my underwear and I just like threw them away because I like didn't know why they were not on my body, but I threw them away. And I remember like I was even embarrassed to lie about that because like I don't know. It was just weird. I felt like all this like weird emotion of like I don't know what to do from this point, and like I don't want to tell anyone anything because I just want this to be something that I deal with alone. And I ended up like not pressing charges because I didn't want like I just wanted it to stop. Like I didn't want to ruin anyone's lives. I didn't want like everyone around me finding out that this happened, and like that wasn't the point for me. Like it just I was too embarrassed and like too hurt to keep going through with it, to where the fact that if like I would have had to keep dealing with this for a year from now, like talking to police officers and all this, like I don't think I would have been able to handle it because I was so like emotionally scarred from it that I just like I thought the best thing to do would be like not say anything to anyone, move on, pretend it didn't happen. And that's essentially what I did at first. Like I didn't tell anyone besides my immediate family. And you know, it's just I think it's true. Like they say that everyone's always like, well, you should speak up. Why don't you speak up? Nobody speaks up. And like, nobody talks about why they don't speak up. It's like, it's not that easy of a thing. And I thought, like, I always thought, you know, growing up and learning about it, I was like, oh, well, just tell someone. Like, everyone's great. Like, police officers are great. And they are. Like, the officer that helped me through it was extremely helpful. He never once made me feel like I was to blame. He like assured me that I wasn't, but like it wasn't the point. Like I still had to feel those feelings of like this is my fault.
So like what made you realize that you could like start talking about it with people? Like did you have to heal first, or did talking about it make you or help you heal?
I think like it's kind of both. I mean, I think just like as the time went on, I like got more comfortable with like realizing what happened and it wasn't my fault and it wasn't, you know, anyone's fault. Like I don't know, it just I think part of it is just like time, and then too I think like eventually opening up to a few more people about it like did help too, because I like could get it out there and I could express it to them and realize like the people who actually care about me, they're gonna take that and like they're not gonna just laugh about it, which had happened before. Like I told someone that I thought cared about me and they just kind of laughed. And so like getting to know different people who like didn't laugh at me for it, and then like just hearing other people talk about like how it happened to them, or seeing it like on the news all over the place, you know. And I think just like I felt like, yeah, it was a really shitty situation, but I think that God put me through something like this so that I could again be a voice to the voiceless and like be someone who other people can relate to and who can come to when they experience difficult things like this, because I don't want anyone to be alone, because I wasn't alone. And even though I had all these people around me, like at some points in my life, because I had all of this inside of me, like I felt like I had to deal with it by myself. And like being able to put that on other people and help, like have help guiding through it, I want to be that person for someone. So I think that's what's helped me the most, is knowing like, yeah, this shitty thing happened to me, and like I wasn't okay from it. I really truly wasn't. But eventually, like I got better because I got through it, and I want other people to know that like it doesn't have to break you, and it doesn't have to stop you from living your life.
I love that, and thank you for sharing. I mean, I know that's hard, and I think one thing you said that like really just stuck out to me was how you said like you didn't want to go through with like the prosecution process because you didn't want to ruin his life. But it's like it's so crazy how us as women, we think to put others before us, even in a situation like that. Like you put somebody who assaulted you before you because you didn't want. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. Because you didn't want to ruin his life, but in a sense I mean, you've come out on a different side now, but like in a sense he ruined your life and you put him before you. And it's just so crazy how like we do that in our lives, and like it's just like and it's crazy even in like these situations, like you always are putting people before you, even like when it comes down to like your mental health and stuff. Like I don't know, that just really stuck out to me because I'm like, that's so true. Like people keep quiet because they want to, like, yeah, in a sense, you're protecting yourself, but you're kind of protecting that person because you don't want it to blow up. You don't want like the police involved. And like, I mean, in a sense, you kind of do, but then you kind of don't because you're like, I mean, they have a life too. And like, you think about how, especially if you know your assaulter, or I don't know what to call them. Like, especially if you know somebody, like you think about what would that do to like our inner circle of the people we know, and then you don't want to put a divide between the people you know because you don't want somebody being like, oh well, so and so says that so and so did this, like you don't want that. But then it's like if everybody's like that and nobody comes forward, we're just gonna like I just think it's so amazing that like you've come forward and like you've said things about it and like you're so willing to share, because I think it's very inspiring to others to be open and honest about like what they've been through. Because like I said, like it's sad, but it happens so often and so many people just don't talk about it.
It really is, and it's true. And I think, I don't know, like people might think I'm crazy, but like I don't have any negative feelings towards that person. And like I haven't seen them in, who even knows how long, but like I don't put any like negative feelings towards that person, and I don't even like fully blame that person, because like I don't know, the situation was just like unfortunate, and it like, yeah, it really sucked, and like again it did like screw me up for a while, but like I don't know, I can't find it in my heart to blame that person because of like the way that the situation happened. And like I feel like I didn't want to like ruin their life, like you were saying. And like for a while there, I was like, well, why didn't I do anything about it? And I just think that like, again, it all comes down to the fact that like this played out the way it did so that I could be an inspiration to people. And like if I would have went a different route, like who knows where I would have been? Who knows if I would have been someone who can talk about like the trauma that comes after it, and the guilt and the shame that like you feel from it, like even this many years after. And I just, again, like I don't know, it's crazy. And like I really don't think that anybody understands like your situation, like. And so I want to be someone who, even though like everyone's situation is going to be different, like again, like at least they have someone they can talk to. And I'm not going to experience it from your eyes, but like I don't know, it's just awareness, I think. But
and you can probably feel like comfortable opening up to someone that's gone through it, like having I don't know, like a community almost,
Yeah.
as awful as that is. But like you said, like on college campuses, it's so common. Like you said, it was normal. It was happening every weekend, every month. Like,
Right. And I think it's so crazy how, like, when things go wrong in our lives, we both call Melissa. Because whenever something would happen at college, I'd be like, Melissa, help, get me out of this situation. But it's like, not even to get like sentimental about Melissa, but like, it's so great that, like, I mean, I don't have a sister, so, I mean, Travis, I have a brother, so, but that's different. But like, I can tell Travis anything. But when it comes to situations like this, your brother is like your protector.
right.
So, like, in my sense, I remember just calling Melissa and being like, what do I do? And it's so weird that, like, we both leaned on Melissa in our situations. And I just think too, like, you know, I remember reaching out to both of you and like you being like, oh my gosh, like I've been through a similar situation. And I think if I didn't have y'all and I didn't have like my parents and Travis, like I probably would have never told anybody, or like my a few friends, because I feel like people almost, like I said earlier, like kind of normalized it in the sense that like if I did tell somebody something, they would be like, okay, well, Allie, you were drinking. Like you brought that on yourself. Like, well, maybe you decided to go home with so and so, or maybe you decided to leave. But it's like, just because you leave a bar with somebody does not mean, you know what I like,
Right.
that does not mean. And I, I don't know how, I mean, I know our little, well, your little brother, Travis isn't my little brother, but like I know Wesley and Travis, like I see them posting on social media, and this just makes me feel like our brothers were raised right. That like I see them posting all the time about like no means no. Like if somebody doesn't actively say yes, that is no. And it's like that sits so well with me knowing that like two boys in my life, I mean now men, like know that. And I'm like, if my brother and my little cousin, who's not little anymore, know that, why doesn't everybody know that?
Yes,
And
I
like,
totally agree.
if I see Wesley Hampton, who's 19, 20, I don't know how old he is, but however old Wesley is, when I see him post stuff about like drinking doesn't mean yes, and going out and wearing clothes doesn't mean yes, I'm like, if he can say that, and I don't know, he's been posting it for a couple of years now. I'm like, if he can say stuff like that, why don't I know 22-year-olds that can say that? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it just all comes down to like these conversations I feel like needed to be had in like households, like, and I do think like it's hard now because this year has been such a year of where we talk about everything. Like it's just been one of those years that like you talk about literally everything, and everything's been like coming to light with just about everything. So I think it's one of those things that I'm like, if it was clearly talked about in our households, why isn't it talked about in other people's?
And I think that that's like such a good point. It's like it does need to be talked about that like drinking isn't an excuse, clothes aren't an excuse, like not being able to physically verbally say no is not an excuse, because like that's the thing is if like everyone, again, like I know we're like advocating for women here, but I'm going to advocate for men for a second.
Absolutely.
Like for women who do like sexually assault a man, like whatever it is, like if people are taught this and it's engraved into them that clothes don't make an excuse, drinking doesn't make an excuse, not saying anything, just like if people knew that, and if we like poured that into people and like talked about it more openly, then like less of this would happen. Because I think a lot of the cases is like, you know, they take a girl home from a bar and they go and they think that that means yes, but it doesn't. And like some of it, like, okay, like some people in some situations it is out of like melishing, but in other cases it's not. Like they didn't know, like they thought it was okay because the girl went home with them, or because the guy went home with them, they thought it was okay. And so if we like would just stop feeling so embarrassed and like we're trying to hide sexual assault from happening, because newsflash, it fucking happens.
Yeah.
If you would stop trying to hide it and actually have those conversations, like that would help too. Because some of the cases that do happen, like again, it was like the man or the woman thought it was okay because they were drinking at a bar together and they both left. And then they realized like after the fact that like that is sexual assault because like the woman did not know what was happening or the man did not know what was happening. And then like they're scarred from it to where like, again, I think we need to have these conversations about like what is sexual assault and like how do you prevent it and like what happens when people go through it and all of that. I just think it needs to be something that's talked about more because like, yes, talking to like survivors about speaking up, yeah, that's helpful, but also like maybe something more preventative about like, hey, here's how to avoid sexual assault. Like,
what about in high school? Like, why is this not being talked about in high school? They go, they talk about like sex education and it's so generic. They just scrape the surface on it. Like, if this is such a big problem, which we know it is, why don't we prepare people for it when they're young? And like these high school kids who are going off to college, I know in my situation, luckily I was conscious enough to be able to go lock myself in a bathroom because I went to a party with somebody who I didn't know anybody else besides that person. It was a college party that I went to and I had never been to college before because I didn't, like live on campus. That route wasn't for me. And when I walked in, their goal was to get me as drunk as possible because that's what they do with the same first time person. And Allie, I'm sure you can relate to that living on a college campus. Mm-hmm. So literally within like probably maybe the first hour, I was so drunk. I asked my friend to take me to the bathroom. She took me to the bathroom. And the next thing I know, it's like hours later, my shirt's off, my bra's off. There's tons of people in the bathroom with me. They're recording me. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was a guy or a girl, but like someone had their hands around me, like holding my breast. And I'm like, I had no idea where I was. I didn't know anyone there besides one person. And more hours passed. I don't even know if anything happened to me during that time. I just remember like somebody holding me inappropriately. And I remember this one guy came into the bathroom and he was like, here, let me walk you home. And I'm like thinking, thank God, like somebody is here watching out for me. Like someone cares. So I let this person walk me back to my apartment. I get inside and I'm like, I let him like walk inside, whatever. And I go to my bedroom thinking that he's going to leave. He was nice. He said he was walking me home. And I'm in my bedroom and he comes in and he like starts trying to kiss me, starts trying to touch me. So I said that I need to go to the bathroom and I locked myself in my bathroom and I literally slept in my shower and I went out the next morning and that guy wasn't in there. But like, if I hadn't been conscious enough to to walk away, like it would have been different. And it's so, like you said, like fucked up that these conversations aren't had sooner where people know that that's wrong. Like you can't walk a girl home. You can't walk a guy home and just expect that they're going to put out and sleep with you or do whatever you want to do with them. Like, why the hell should I have to be a 21-year-old girl locking myself in my damn bathroom so a guy doesn't touch me? It's wrong.
And it's wrong. I think like that scenario is like college. That and it's sad because like how have we gotten to the point to where things like that happen? And how have we gotten to the point to where like we don't like nothing's happening about it? Because like in my situation, I remember like leaving a bar with one of my friends and going back to an apartment and videos show that I was doing that. I don't remember that. But then like I remember being like left in an apartment by myself that I've never been in and being like, where am I? How did I get here? And what's going on? And I called my roommate and I was like, I don't know where I am. And this was like a few hours later. And I'm like, it's like one of those things where I just remember crying and being like, oh my God, what just happened? Like, I wanted to call my mom. I wanted to be like, I don't know what to do. Like, I mean, I tell my mom everything, but like, how do you tell your mom that? And and then I'm like, okay, well, I know him, so like he wouldn't do anything. But then I'm like, okay, but I vividly remember being like, I don't want to do anything. Like, just like leaving, walking, I'm like, oh, he's so cute. Like, maybe I'll get to kiss him. Can't think that with college boys. I mean, not even college boys. You can't think that with anybody. Because, like, I will point like what Liz said was like, it's not even just guys that do it. Like, there are women out there that sexually assault men, and sexual assault in every community is happening. Like, it's not just one way. Like, so it's beyond me of how much it happens, and that I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, it's just guys doing it to girls, but that is not true. Like, it happens different. It's just so crazy to me how it happened. And I mean, I don't even, like, clearly I don't even have words because I'm just like, how does this happen? And I think about like calling Melissa the next day and being like, what do I do? And like talking with my one roommate who like actually like believed me and like wasn't like all some other people like laughing, like Liz said, like some, because people think it's funny, like you got too drunk and like you did something stupid, and it's like, okay, well, it's not that you just got too drunk and you did something stupid. It's like, this is something that's going to stick with you. Like, this is something that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life, that you're not even comfortable telling people about. And this is going to be something that's like stuck with you forever. Because I mean, like, that's why I always say to Liz, like, I think you're such an inspiration because you can openly talk about it. And like, I just can beat around the bush and say things. And I'm like, it's just so crazy because I am such like a person that I believe like in advocating for people. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, well, Allie, why can't you advocate for yourself?
Sorry. Hold on.
You're okay. And like, but I also, and this is a little bit like a thing that like I would have never realized, but like, and I've never been in a, like, I haven't been in a relationship since some, like, all my situation happened, but like, it's something that I feel like that's something a part of me now. And like, that's something you have to tell every person you're with. And like, I think about like, I'm going to have to tell my husband one day about some stupid guy who took advantage of me one night because I was just
like, it is very like scary. And I remember like the first guy I ever told that like we were seeing each other, like whatever. And I remember like telling him like, there's something that I have to tell you before like this can go any further, because I just like, I feel like you have to know this part of me before you can get to know any other part of me. And I remember telling him, and he just kind of like chuckled and was like, because he asked me like how many people I had sex with. And so like when I was talking about it, I was like, well, like, I don't know like if I count this person or not, but like technically I had sex with them, but like I didn't know I had sex with them. So like I don't know if I would count it or not. And he like chuckled and was like, well, if I didn't count any of the girls who took advantage of me, then my number would be kind of different too. And like I was like outraged that he had like the audacity to say that to me, and like the fact that like I cared so much about this person, thought that this person cared about me, like, and then he had to go and say that to me. And then like again, like years down the road after like healing and everything, I was like, well, maybe women actually did like take advantage of him. Like maybe it was the same situation for him, and he just like can't say it because he's a man and he's so stigmatized by it. Like, but like you just like, I think that's another like huge thing, is like telling like your next partner about it. Like, and I remember like the next like obviously like the last people that I've told, like they are more like accepting of it. Like when I talk about it like now to people, they're like, I mean, I still get the occasional like like I don't know if that's true, or but like I feel like the response I've gotten like after like being open about it has been good. And I think that like the person that I told after that situation. Like I was in an actual relationship with this person, and like the response was just like completely different. And like that's when you know like the difference between someone who like is actually going to care about you and like is truly like good for you, even if it's just for that period of time. He's a good person for you. Like they're not going to make jokes about it. They're not going to laugh about it. Like they're either going to sit there and be super supportive and like loving and caring and like watch you as you ugly cry because you have to open up to someone about this, something that's so like hard to talk about. Or they're going to laugh. And like if they're going to laugh, like that's not someone that you want to be with anyways, you know?
Yeah.
Like, or if they again like were through that and whatever, but they can't say it to you. Like it's just, it's either like that's a good person for you to be with, whether it's for the rest of your life or just for a period of time, or it's someone who like at that point, like what else do I need from you? Because I'm not getting any emotional support from this. I'm getting laughed at for my trauma. So like, sorry, but bye, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like it is scary, like knowing that I'll have to tell my future husband, like, and again, like he might already know, but like it's different, like speaking of it personally, than like just like putting it out on Facebook. It is scary that I'll have to tell my future husband one day, like exactly what happened. But like, I know that like if that person is actually supposed to be my future husband, like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I guess I always think about my future husband way too much. So I always think about situations like that. Like, how do you tell somebody that? And
Yeah.
you're right. Like, they're gonna love you through it. I mean, that's why you're marrying them. Like, and I'm sure they'll know way before you get married. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's watching this video now. So
Right?
Hey! If you are, let me know.
Swipe up.
2 bachelorettes.
Yeah.
But honestly, like if anybody takes anything away from this video, you are not alone. And if you have the courage to speak up about it, great. Spread awareness to your friends. Be loud about it. Talk about it. It's not cool to cross boundaries. It's not cool to walk somebody home and think that you can sleep with them in return. It's not cool to hurt somebody. It's not cool to get somebody drunk and take advantage of them. And it's not cool to be the one who's drunk and walking home and accidentally taking advantage of somebody. Like, unless somebody can say yes consciously, don't cross the line.
And again, if you're not, like, if you, maybe too, like, I just want everyone to know that whoever does watch this, like, if you experience something like this and, like, you don't know who to talk to and you don't have anyone to talk to, like, I will be here for you, open arms, like, no judgment. I won't say it to anyone. Like, even if you only come to me and not Melissa or not Allie, like, I won't even tell them because those stories are personal. And if you trust someone with that, like, we would never share it with anyone else. And I hate the fact that, like, so many people are probably watching this and have gone through this and they're not going to say anything to anyone, or they haven't said anything to anyone. And it's just like having to carry that burden all alone. I don't want any of you who do watch this to feel like you have to carry that burden alone. You're not alone.
100%. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming on and for being open and honest and being a voice.
Thank you guys. I love y'all.
We love you.
too.
You're amazing.
Thanks, everyone.